What's up? What's up, everybody? We're going to let that beat drop. Let's go. Vibrations. I got to make you mine. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the late afternoon show. It's your boy, Mr. Meaningful Work, and we are vibing. If you are joining us live, let us know in the chat where you're joining us from. Let's let that music play real quick. After your big mind's eyes at me. Woo. As I was walking by. Hey, hey. See the zoo. Shout out to Megan in Memphis. What's up, Tennessee? Welcome to the late afternoon show, Megan. What's up? Got me out of nowhere. I must have met you a long time ago. You give me those good, oh. Woo! It's all about those good vibrations. What's up? What's up? We in here. Let us know where you're joining us from. We got a couple minutes left. Y'all want to dance? Come on, come on, come on, come on. Hey, 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 bust it. Come on. Over here, come on, come on, come on. Hey, 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 hey. Get it, hey, hey. Come on, Joy. Let's go. Let's go. Hey, hey, hey. Get it. You dance right here, boy. Dance. Get it. Hey, hey. Is that all you're doing? That's all you're doing? Electric magnetism. Are you doing the splits, girl? The camera can't see you. This just turned into a dance party at the Olari house. We got the kids vibing. Let's go, let's go. Get it. Hey, hey. Hey. Get it. Hey, 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 hey. Bye. Again. All right, guys, we're about to start. We got 20 seconds. Join the party. Let's go. Hey, hey, hey. Let's go. Let's go. Break it on down. Break it on down. Here we go. Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to start the show. Thank you so much for joining my dance party. That was Joy, Jael, and Joshua. As you can see, I am situated in my living room studio today. No shed today because the weather outside is not conducive for life and health. And so I am in the air conditioned, and even in here, maybe it was just the dancing. I am out here out of breath today. But guys, I am so excited. We are coming up to the end of June, sliding into July. We are deep in summer. I hope you guys are having an amazing summer. I hope you guys are having an amazing first half of 2021. Can you guys believe we are almost halfway through the year? Man, it seems like it was just yesterday we were celebrating New Year's, just trying to climb out of 2020 like, 2020, get off of me, 2020. And now we're halfway through, so we're super excited. Guys, I do not want to waste your time because I've been bragging about this dude. I have been super excited about this guy. He was recommended by his partner. He's also part of our network with what's this guy, Tim Salau, who is my big bro. Like, I really appreciate all the work that Mr. Future of Work is doing. And so the community just grows. The community just expands. and Chad and I were connected in our initial conversation. That conversation could have been a podcast. I mean, we were just vibing, we were just chatting, and I was like, yo, we need to save some stuff for when we actually talk with the people, talking about automation, talking about AI, talking about, how to make work more seamless, right? So folks can focus on the work that they're supposed to be doing and not worry about this other stuff. Let the technology take care of that. So guys, without further ado, I'm going to throw this music back on and see if we can get some of these vibrations going as we welcome to the stage, Mr. Chad Order. Let's go.
What is going on, Tim?
Chad is in the house. Hey, let's go. Vibrations. Hey. Thank you, my band. I had to stop them because they were about to get carried away all over again. My man, Chad, how you living, brother?
Hey, I'm out here. We're building cool stuff. We're trying to take advantage of the nice weather while it's here. Although it might be a little too hot, as you sort of mentioned. Up here, it's 111 degrees, or it was yesterday. Today, it's a little bit nicer, 90 degrees.
You just say 100 and like 111?
111 yesterday. It was bad. It was bad yesterday.
That is sinful. I need to put a call into God and be like, yo, man, what are you doing right now? And you're Washington, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's super atypical. It's crazy. I mean, like, you think about Washington, you think about rain, you think about cold, you think about them,
nobody is ready for this, but I appreciate you coming through and hanging out with us today. I'm so glad that we were able to get connected. I am super excited to jump into the conversation with you about what you're doing over at Chat Mode, your perspectives on meaningful work and what you're excited about. But one of the things that I like to do with our guests that come on is, outside of your typical introductions and reading bios and things like that, I always want to find out from my guests, what are you famous for? Now, this could be your job, this could be your career, this could just be folks know you as the best, ballroom dancer, within your community, but I don't know what that thing is. What are you famous for, Chad? Let us know.
Yeah, good question. That's a great question. Thought-provoking. It's funny because when I was running my podcast, I would do the same thing. Awesome. So I think I'm most famous for maybe just jumping into LinkedIn video, to be honest. I mean, like, okay, but before that, I would say doing video podcasting. So I think I started one of the first podcasts in the chatbot space back in 2017, maybe 2018. It's been a while. Nice. And we were like one of the first ones out there. And, to me, and I think I sort of, shared this on our first call, it's like podcasts are so powerful, right? I think people outside of them sort of see them as, it's just a couple people talking online and, sharing thoughts. And it's like, oh no, it's like it is so X, Y, Z. Absolutely. And for me, that just got me really interested in the power of video content, right? I think it's obviously the most involved. It takes a little bit more than writing a post. Yes. But I think the outcomes and the value are just tremendous. So for me, I really am grateful that I have the opportunity to step into that medium and experience it and learn from it and, get to meet really cool people like yourself. I don't think if I would have been doing it, I would have met the other Tim Salau, had I not started it. So it comes full circle.
Podcasts have literally like changed my life, and the ability to connect with the coolest people in the world, the ability to just vibe and chat and be yourself. Like, I think the cool thing about podcasts is, and for folks that are doing it right, it lets you lean into curiosity, right? It helps you ask questions, but it also allows you, in a way that other mediums might not, bring your authentic self. Like, you're just sharing your thoughts. You're getting thoughts from other people. When you add the layer of video and folks can see you and see the interactions and hear your vibe and all those things, like, it's just been Tuesdays. The days that we do the late afternoon show have become like my favorite day of the week, like really getting to connect with folks. We got some folks over here saying that what you're famous for is your sense of humor. Are you a funny guy? You a funny guy?
I'm a little funny guy. Who's in the comments saying that? Who is that?
That's Bernard. Bernard is saying that you got the best sense of humor, man. I was just talking. I was doing like little Mr. Meaningful work in the streets, and we're talking to different folks. And one of the girls said, "He's like, oh, I was like, what are you famous for?" She's like, "I'm hilarious." And it's like, anytime you talk to people and they say they're funny or they're hilarious, it's like, all right, well, tell us a joke. I was like, no, it's not always about jokes. Like, it's just interactions and perspective, man. What is Birdbot? Megan is saying, tell us about Birdbot.
Birdbot. Okay, so one of my other founders. So in the midst of the Microsoft ecosystem, right, you have a lot of these really great platforms, right?
Yeah.
These AI platforms that are actually super accessible, right? Because when I was looking at the space of AI, like several years ago, it's like, man, this is too complicated. I could never, wrap my head around it. I can't be a part of this, right? But a lot of that is so much more accessible. And one of Microsoft's capabilities is something called computer vision, right? It's something that's been really pioneered over the last, 5 years, 6 years, where now essentially we can easily train these models, right? And in our case, we're creating a bird watching model where we've trained it on hundreds of different species of birds, right? What? And for me, I'm not an experienced bird watcher. I don't think most people are. So if you pointed at a bird walking down the street, you'd be like, I don't know what bird that is, but it looks kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
So we've created a computer vision model where you could take a video camera, point it at the picture of the bird, and it'll tell you what the bird is, background on the bird automatically, seamlessly, right?
Where is my applause? There we go.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. What? And is that something that you can get like in the App Store? Is it on? You said it's in the Microsoft ecosystem. Like, how do folks access that?
Yeah, so we actually have a tech demo on the website. What we're looking to do right now is sort of a fun side project is we're looking to commercialize that camera and that model, right? So it's like, if we can get that in the hands of, hopefully younger bird watchers to make things more accessible, we think that will go a long way. And we're looking forward to hopefully launching that in the next year or so.
Yo, that is what's up. Thank you, Megan, for bringing that up. That is,
thank you.
Take up bird watching. It is not something that I've ever considered before, but now that there's technology to support it, or potentially technology to support it, that might be something I dabble in. And so one thing I did want to ask you though, so you talked about AI, you talked about automation, and that is a space that you have been in. That has obviously piqued your interest. You've been able to add value to the world and to businesses and to interactions through that. You saw my 3 kids here, right? So that was Joshua, Joy, and Jael. They're going to come up in a world where AI and automation is the norm. Like, that's, for us, it's new. It's like, ooh, AI, automation. Like, that's all like new, innovative. For them, it's going to be native for them. How would you explain, and you can pick one, whether it's artificial intelligence or automation, how would you explain one or both of those things to my 5-year-old?
Ooh, that's a real great question. That's really good. So I think, the most prevalent AI models today are actually supervised models, right? And essentially supervised models, how they work is they essentially work based on humans annotating data. So in a similar way, you can almost sort of think about how a child may learn about birds from their parents or from their school, right? So essentially, your teacher is going to show you, this is a picture of a pigeon, and this is a picture of a duck, and this is a crow, and this is an eagle, right? Yes. And essentially what we're doing is that we are essentially ascribing the relationship between these 2 data points, right? And the most prevalent models today that are commercially deployed are supervised learning models. So essentially the humans are sort of taking up that data annotation, right? They're saying to the model, this is a bird, and this bird here is a crow, right? This picture here, that's a duck, right? And when we build those data sets, we're essentially training that model on that relationship, right? So in the same way that a small child may learn, we're getting to the point where we can train computers on these very focused use cases. Probably wouldn't use the term use cases when I was talking to some kids, but
you know what I'm going to do? This is probably going to be because I normally do a recap of next day of our conversation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to record myself explaining AI to Joshua, because I'm gonna assimilate all of these things and translate it away, and see his reaction. And I'll videotape that and then post that and see if he's able to understand that, because I think it's important, right? I think the technology that we are creating, the world that we're creating, it's very important that these guys understand it, and that they're able to see what kind of value and see how they can use it, right? My biggest thing for my kids is like, I want them to know what their strengths are, and be able to lean into those strengths. And if there are technologies and things like that that can help them in that or facilitate that, we got to know, what they are, and get them familiar with it. So you're working at an organization called Chatbot, a Microsoft partner. Tell us kind of high level, what is Chatbot, and how does it help businesses?
Absolutely. So we
chat
built
mode.
Chat mode.
I was like, Chatbot, like that doesn't sound right. Chat mode. Talk to us about chat mode.
That was great advertising, because that's actually one of the services that we provide. So I think
worked out perfectly.
It worked out perfectly. Super informative. So we've been running chat mode. Essentially what we are is we are an AI and automation consultancy, right? And that's sort of a mouthful. But when we peel back the onion a little bit, we do really three things. First of all, we spend time working with executive level stakeholders, and we help educate them, right? Because I think a lot of times this topic of automation or AI can sort of be monolithic, and there's a lot of misconceptions about what can it actually do, right? I think some people have the conception that we're just going to give this model all the data and it's going to figure it out itself and automate it, right? Yeah. Which is just simply not the case, right? So for us, a lot of what we do is we spend time educating. We talk about computer vision. We talk about conversational AI. We talk about some of these other exciting models and technologies like robotic process automation, right? So when you familiarize people with these concepts, they get to expand their mental model. And then instead of seeing obstacles, they start seeing opportunities, right? So that's the first thing we do, education. The second thing we do is essentially we do strategic planning, right? Essentially we work with these stakeholders. We look at the existing customer experience. We look at the existing employee experience. And we look at that from people, processes, and technology, right? What is the current experience? And where can we, within that experience, identify opportunities to improve these things, right? It's funny because before coming onto this podcast, I read an article that CNBC put out today, and they said that 95% of people with jobs today are considering leaving their job, because most of these companies are essentially saying, well, you're going to have to come back to work now, right? So therein lies an opportunity in that employee experience, right? How do we make a better employee experience? And I think that speaks to what you represent, meaningful work, right? If it's meaningful, people will want to stay there. Yeah. And what we see is that insight, strategy, and technology can help enable that, right? Yeah. And then essentially the final thing we do is that we'll go ahead and deploy these technologies, right? So these technologies are just a tool. So we don't start there, right? We really want to understand like what's at the meat of the way that these organizations think, and what are opportunities that their employees care about. So in a nutshell, we essentially work with companies to evaluate their customer experience, and then we look from our toolbox of AI and automation, and we pick the right tool that is going to enable that experience, that improved experience.
Man, so we are educating folks, helping to expand and give them the resources, the knowledge on how these models work and how they could probably potentially benefit them. You're looking at strategic planning, and then you deploy the technologies. So it's like you give them, it's like a triple whammy, right? It's like you're educating them, you're helping them think about their future and their vision. And then you're giving them the resources to be able to enable that. That is what is up, and we're going to unpack that a little bit. But we're gonna take a little break. We're gonna take a little segue and just do something fun. What I would like for you to do is think about somebody, whether dead or alive, that you could hang out with for one day, 24 hours with anybody dead or alive. Who would that be and why?
Oh man, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people pick this guy, but I mean, Elon Musk. I mean, it's
Elon
just
Musk?
like, I mean, like I read his biography, like I've
Yeah.
tracked a lot of what he's done, and I just find the vision and the mission coupled with just this like inhuman level of execution,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of these concepts are just so expansive. It's just like you see the one thing he's doing now, and then people are like, that's the thing, and it's like, no, the thing that he's doing is all the way over here, and it's I think as people we can learn a lot about just taking something small and just stretching that vision. And I think it can help, at least with me personally, it helps me sort of chart out. It's like, okay, we're doing this thing now, in the future, I can already sort of see what Elon's talking about. This is where we're going, so I think it would just be fascinating to pick that guy's brain even for an hour.
Man, that is a good one. And folks are in the chat. Sheila, what's up? Taban, what's up? Megan, what's up? Bernard, what's up? Thank you guys so much for hanging out, and thank you for just being in the community, talking with each other, and let us know if you have any questions for Chad as it relates to some of the work that he's doing, just AI automation in general. This is the place to learn. And I'll put the question out to our viewers as well. If there was anybody dead or alive that you can hang out with for a day, to have fun, to pick their brain, to do your dirty work, whatever it was, who is somebody that you guys would hang out with for 24 hours? Colin Powell, man, that dude is smart. Not just regular smart. My man is smart. And so, yeah, let us know. We'd love to hear some of those things. Dude, what would you do if you were a billionaire? Like, boom, Chad's a billionaire right now. Like, what would
I got some plans. Like, I mean, personally, like my thought process was always, when we think about like some of the emerging economies in the world, right? It's like, what's the difference between them and us? It's like access to information, access to education. So I've actually I've had a nonprofit idea in my head for a while, and essentially it's, let's provide people in third world countries with first world education around programming and AI. And essentially we give them the technology, we give them the education for free. And we say, the only caveat is, you have to work with our company for 2 years after, right? We pay them a fair competitive wage. But now what that begins to do, it builds their competency up. It allows us to compete on a global stage against other, more established companies in first world economies respectively. And then after 2 years, they've had this experience, and now they can go off, and then our company would actually seed some investments into their idea. So now they can actually go establish a sustainable startup, in their country. So I just think there's so many really interesting opportunities that, we can really drive significant change in other parts of the world. But I'll get off my soapbox. But
bro, that's what you thought about this. Like you got the game plan, you got the business plan. I mean, that would literally be game changing. Like if you take this thing, like you said, it's just about access. Like if you bring access to those, first world technology and innovation and education and all those things, there's so many smart people. They just don't have the access. They don't have the resources. I mean, that would literally change the game, and it would accelerate the world's future. I mean, by an exponent, a factor of who knows how much. Dude, that's what's up. We got to get this. Somebody get this guy $1 billion. Who got it? Bernard, get this guy $1 billion. Let's make this happen for man. So one thing I do want to talk about is, so you're talking about education, you're talking about strategy, you're talking about the deployment and customer and employee experience, how these things benefit customer and employee experience. Was that originally what you got into it for? Like, was I, hey, we want to improve X and Y, or was there a pivot? Was there a change? And hey, we're starting with this one thing, and this is what we found. Like, what was that directionality for you?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Back in 2016, 2017, we actually started only doing conversational AI, right? So we were, just building chatbots for organizations. And, what we recognize is that we were a little early to the market, as it goes sometimes with innovative technologies.
Right.
we had some great customers we worked with. And, when you think about that sort of, standard deviation bell curve, right, of late and early adopters, right, there were some really great clients that we work with. But then I think the thinking then became, all right, well, after talking to several, decision makers and executive stakeholders, what you begin to sort of paint the picture of is a maturity model, right? Where are companies at today? And oftentimes we would find companies that were sort of at that strategy level still, right? They hadn't really had a conversation around, hey, how can AI and automation actually benefit us? Where do we look to start this process? Where can we find the opportunities? How do we prioritize these opportunities, right? How do we essentially build that entire pipeline to move from, non-existent to this very high maturity model, right? Where you're rolling out conversational AI experiences, where you're utilizing robotic process automation and perhaps computer vision, and a slew of other, different models that could really benefit your organization. So that's what it's sort of morphed into. And then I'll speak to the customer and employee experience thing really quickly. I think sometimes some of these buzzwords, they begin to lose meaning, so I think a lot of people talk about digital transformation and customer experience and employee experience. And, for us, they have very specific meanings. So when we think about digital transformation, ultimately, the way that we interpret that is essentially minimizing the distance between accessing information and decision making, right? And I think when we sort of think about it through that lens, that's a lot of our jobs, right? It's how quickly can I get this information and then be able to make a decision with that information, right? So that's what we believe digital transformation is. Now, to actually actualize that, organizations need to, transform not only customer experience, which it seems like has been sort of the predominant focus for some time now, right? But I think less of a focus and more recently has been around employee experience, right? Because if you have a really good customer experience, but your own employees, are using like really old ERP systems and really not user-friendly CRM systems, it's actually going to end up hurting customer experience, right? So for us, the way that we approach it is that, we want to focus on driving those experiences, right? And the tools and technologies, those are just, sort of tools in that toolbox, more or less.
That's good. I mean, you really have been able to hone down your stakeholders. Like, hey, the employee experience, if that's good, it's going to cascade over to the employee, to the customer experience. And if your customer is happy and they're having a good experience, and that's going to, create more engagement and more interaction with the company, which then, so you have like this,
that virtuous cycle.
You got this cycle going on. And I love how you described it, that, minimizing the distance between accessing info and decision making, right? And, where automation, where I'm here is like where automation AI comes in, is like that just helps to, you have the info, you have the access to the info, and you can make decisions, not just faster but smarter, with that insight. So one of the things that I've been doing for the last year, about a year and a half now, is just this whole brand, Mr. Meaningful Work, and just being a definition gatherer of what meaningful work is. How do you apply it? How do different folks at different stages, in their careers apply it? From a technology standpoint, I've always been looking for, like, how does technology enable the experience of meaningfulness at work? So I would love to ask you as well. So how would you define meaningful work, and how are you applying it in the work that you're doing?
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic question, because I think, especially with AI and automation, right? I think, you find people, on one or two sides. Like on one side, they're fearful that it may displace their job, right? On the other side, you have people that, very much resonate with the notion of it, and they're looking for that, right? Of course, there's people in between, but I think that the benefit of AI and automation is that it can actually make us more human, right? So what do I mean by that, right? So there's a lot of these redundant and time-consuming processes we do just in day-to-day operations. And if we can try and deload some of those things, that allows the employees or customers to essentially focus on higher order tasks and objectives, right? That they are most well positioned to focus on, right? And let these, AI models or automation or traditional ETL, workflows essentially manage that sort of less, I don't want to say less important because it's equally important, but maybe less positioned for humans to work on, essentially. So that's the way that we like to think about it when we think about meaningful work. We want to put employees in the most opportune position to actually want to do meaningful work and also have favorable morale. They want to feel good about going to work, right? There's another thought in my head, but it just left equally as fast. I'll try to remember it here. I wanted to bring it up.
I'm getting, you can't see it in the camera, but I'm getting goosebumps here because what you just shared is, probably one of the crispest, most crisp. I don't know what the I don't know what the word is. Tavon says, "Make him do the rough." No, we got you, Tavon. Is the alignment between technology and meaningful work, and the way that you stated it. I was reading. You probably know the book by is it Daniel Pink, Drive, where he talks about internal or extrinsic motivation and intrinsic motivation. And there's, motivation back in the day where it was just biological, like we just need to eat, drink, and make babies. Like that was motivation 1.0. And then you had the next level of motivation, which is like carrot and stick, incentives and punishments and rewards. But he said like that only works for the most kind of linear of tasks, like the most traditional, like you're just counting dirt or whatever, like just the most basic things. Like when you're getting into things that require more thinking, there's more nuance, there's more talent, there's more variability and things like that. Motivation works a different way. What you just shared just says that, when you take away those, not take away, but when you reassign those tasks that don't allow you or that distract you or take time away from doing the things that really intrinsically motivate you, that allow you to pursue mastery. That's another level of, motivation. They allow you to pursue mastery. They allow you to, get into that state of flow. Like, the things are working. What automation does is like allows people to focus on those things. And it's in focusing on those things that they experience meaningfulness, they experience, authenticity, bringing their true selves and not being so bogged down with, searching for information or, trying to figure out like where all the different, sources of these things are. Like that stuff is already taken care of. I can focus on this. And in focusing on this, I experience meaningfulness. That was like, I'm saying what you're saying in different words, but like, I really, really appreciate allowing people to do what they're best at, right? And meaningful work. I don't know if you were able to find your other thought, but we were going to kind of go into that other piece. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was just super quick. So there was a term someone I saw on Twitter mentioned. They said, just like how there are high availability servers, we want to create high availability humans, right? In the sense that they are not, let's say they're focusing on something more strategic, right? Or empathetic that humans are best positioned to focus on. You don't want to have to stop to do something super manual that you don't like to do, right? So I thought that was a very apt way of putting it. It's like we're augmenting humans to be their best selves. So we're creating high availability humans. But
and when folks like in the HR world, they also talk about like human performance, human capacity management. It's like the more capacity that you have, like to do what to do what you're best at, what your strengths are. And I know Megan is, really huge on strengths. You just expand that capacity. Your bandwidth becomes so much more, and you don't have to take that space to do these things that a machine can very well do and do very well in that stance. But my guy, Chad, I'm as I'm writing my notes down here, like I have like 3 or 4 other like separate questions that like come up, and I'm like, yo, we gotta keep the time. I know Megan already had to, go to bed in Memphis, and we want to make sure that we keep it nice and punchy. But what is the best way that our meaningful work community can engage with you? Like, what would mean the most to you? Is it going to your website? Is it checking out your blog? Like, what would mean the most to you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Feel free to reach out really on any medium, Twitter, website, LinkedIn. The one thing, also stress, that we're always just happy to get on a call, and we don't necessarily even have to talk about what we do. We could talk about Elon, just reach out to us. I think just the pandemic last year actually uncovered a lot of opportunities to, be more human, right? Over these type of mediums, right? We can just jump on a Zoom call. So, I would definitely have that as an open invitation. Happy to do what we can to, either help you with our services or introduce you to people or just have a conversation.
High availability humans. You heard it first right here on the late afternoon show. HA. That's what it is. It just brings a joy. Ha! That's what it is. Yo, Chad, you got to do the rough, man. I have folks, WRUFF. What are you famous for? It sounds like a bark. So we have folks do their best rough. So it can be a little woof. It can be a woof, whatever it is. So let us know and we'll sign off. Let's hear your rough, man.
All right, let's do this. Woof, woof.
And he did it twice. He said, I'm not settling for one. I'm going for two. Ladies and gentlemen, we have had Chad here on the show. He is the leader, the founder, Chat Mode, Microsoft partner. They're working with automation. They're working with AI. They're helping business focus on customer experience, focus on employee experience with a range of different services and products. I love what you said here, man. AI and automation can make us more human. That almost sounds like counterintuitive. It's like, what? Yeah. Well, how does that work? But you guys are bringing that human, bringing those strengths and bringing, that education to that. And I really, really appreciate the work that you're doing. Guys, join us next Tuesday for another show, the late afternoon show. We're almost coming up to the end of our season. So as we're gearing up for season 4, that'll be coming up later on in the fall. If there are folks that you think about that say, hey, you guys would vibe really well on the late afternoon show, we'll teach the audience and help us get more educated on various things, and especially on how to experience meaningfulness in the work that you do, please email me, tim@mrmeaningfulwork.com. Just go to our website, mrmeaningfulwork.com, and you can contact me there, see our episodes from previous seasons. But Chad, we're about to play our outro music. Where are we? Vibrations. It has been real. It has been 3D. It has been juicy, man. I hate to have to cut it short. Like, I literally have like 6 more questions here. But guys, it has been our show. Thank you so much for joining us. Check us out next week on the late afternoon show. We out. Hey. Let's go. On the same frequency.